In recent weeks, the idea has gained momentum that Utah Jazz center Walker Kessler could be an intriguing option for the Celtics front office. The reason is clear. So far, he hasn't received any contract extension. And that detail opens up a window of possibility. The Boston Celtics enter the season with Neemias Queta projected as the starting center, followed by Chris Boucher, Luka Garza, and Xavier Tillman. But the big question is simple. Which of them has consistently proven themselves in the NBA? None. And it's exactly in that gap where Kessler fits. Since the beginning of his career, the young big man has shown he can be a solid defender, an imposing rim protector, and a strong rebounder. It's no surprise that his recent statement added even more tension in Utah. "I'm definitely a little frustrated, but as long as I'm wearing a Jazz jersey, I'll play winning basketball," Kessler told the Salt Lake Tribune. A firm statement, but one that makes his frustration with the lack of recognition clear. Now, the equation gets more interesting. Kessler's contract is small, just under $4.9 million this season. That makes him a financially simple piece to move, unlike other stars on the market. But is Utah really willing to negotiate him? Or are they simply waiting to see how the season unfolds before deciding whether he deserves a lucrative extension next summer? And here comes the reflection point for Boston. If Kessler does reach his next deal, it will require a significant financial commitment. Are the Celtics prepared to pay that price? Or would they just be renting a player who could leave shortly after? On paper, he seems like the perfect fit to bring more defensive stability to the paint and ease the burden on the stars. But here lies the dilemma. Should Boston gamble on Kessler now, or should they trust in the development of Neemias Queta, who could still grow into that role for the future? What no one can deny is that if the Utah Jazz do open up trade talks, Kessler has to be on Boston's immediate radar. The cost wouldn't be prohibitive, and the potential impact is real. But that leads us to the question that keeps this topic open and puts even more pressure on the franchise's future. Should the Boston Celtics invest in Walker Kessler now, or will waiting end up costing them far more than they imagine? At first glance, the backcourt looks solid. Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, the recently acquired Anthony Simons, and rookie Hugo Gonzalez give Boston depth and versatility. On paper, it seems enough to get through next season. But when you look closer, a different picture starts to emerge. The trades of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis weren't about basketball alone. They were about survival under the NBA's punishing financial system. Boston is now just $12 million away from the luxury tax line, a line they cannot afford to cross for too many years in a row. The arrival of Simons offered temporary relief, saving a few million, but also left an opening for another decision that could be even more impactful. Because let's be honest, as talented as Simons is, he's not a foundational piece in Boston's long-term plans. He's on an expiring contract, and his presence doesn't guarantee winning. What it does guarantee is a financial decision waiting to be made. And here lies the turning point. Teams like the Houston Rockets and Sacramento Kings, both searching for a true starting point guard, could push attractive offers across the table. The Celtics might not even need to act alone. A multi-team trade could surface, giving them a chance to reset financially while keeping flexibility for the future. Remember, moving Georges Niang already set a precedent, clearing a path to reset the tax clock and avoid harsh penalties down the line. So the dilemma becomes bigger than Simons himself. This is about timing, finances, and vision. If Boston holds on to him, they risk being tied down by a contract they may never want to extend. If they move him, they might lose short-term talent, but they gain financial freedom and room to maneuver, and that's where the urgency spikes. The Celtics are defending champions, but they are also staring at an uncertain roster structure. The front office must decide, is Anthony Simons the guard who can grow with this core, or is he simply the asset that could unlock their next major trade? And if they wait too long, could that hesitation end up costing them more than just money? The Boston Celtics have made a small move that could carry bigger implications than most fans realize. By signing Wendell Moore Jr. to an Exhibit 10 contract, the Celtics completed their 21-man preseason roster. On the surface, it looks like a routine addition before training camp. But if we dig deeper, this decision says a lot about how the front office is managing both roster flexibility and long-term planning. Moore, The 26th pick in the 2022 NBA Draft has bounced around in his young career: Minnesota, Detroit, Charlotte, and now Boston. He has appeared in 90 games across 3 seasons, averaging just over 8 minutes per night. Last season with the Hornets was his most productive stretch so far, posting 5.4 points, 3.2 rebounds, and 1.2 assists in limited minutes. Numbers that may not impress at first glance, but suggest untapped potential when given a bigger role. The challenge is obvious. Boston already holds 14 players on standard contracts and 3 on two-way deals. Carrying a 15th man into opening night would trigger unwanted financial consequences tied to the luxury tax. That means Moore's only real shot is converting his Exhibit 10 into a two-way contract, which would force the Celtics to part ways with one of their current two-way players. And that's where the situation becomes more intriguing. Do the Celtics see Moore as just another body for training camp, or as a player worth gambling on at the expense of someone already in their system? Exhibit 10 contracts can be a pathway to the G League, where Moore could join the main Celtics and collect an $85,300 bonus if he stays at least 60 days. But history tells us that sometimes these marginal signings turn into key contributors down the line. It raises a larger question about Boston's strategy. Is this simply a financial maneuver designed to buy flexibility? Or is the front office testing whether Moore has the tools to surprise and carve out a place in the rotation? And if the Celtics choose to move one of their current two-way players to make room, who will they decide is less valuable to their future? The decision may look small today, but in a season where every roster spot and every dollar counts, it could carry weight down the line. Which leads us to the real question: is Wendell Moore Jr. just another preseason signing? Or could he be the unexpected piece the Celtics cannot afford to overlook? Peyton Pritchard's name is suddenly back in the headlines, and not because of what he's doing on the court. Fresh off winning 6th Man of the Year, Pritchard enters the season with real momentum. He's not just a spark off the bench anymore. He's fighting for a bigger role in Boston's rotation. That rise in value has not gone unnoticed around the league. Bill Simmons recently suggested that Pritchard could be a target for the Houston Rockets, a team left scrambling after losing Fred VanVleet to a season-ending ACL injury. Simmons made a point that caught attention, noting how Pritchard's contract lines up neatly with Reed Shepherd's salary. That opens a door for hypothetical trades, and with the Rockets under pressure to stay competitive, it's an idea that could grow louder. But here's the catch. Trading away Pritchard would not be a small move for Boston. He's become more than just a rotation player. He's been part of the championship foundation. His quick tempo, his willingness to stretch defenses, and his energy off the bench have all been crucial. He's still developing as a playmaker and scorer, but more importantly, he brings a mentality that cannot be measured by numbers. He plays to win, and every time he's on the floor, that mentality shows. For Brad Stevens, the decision won't just come down to value. Yes, the Rockets could make an aggressive offer, but Boston isn't operating under a strict tax mandate anymore. Stevens himself confirmed that in September, making it clear that the Celtics' focus is on putting their best team on the court, not on cutting costs. That makes trading Pritchard less about financial relief and more about one simple question: does the return actually make the team better? And that's where the urgency builds. Boston knows what they have in Pritchard: a proven 6th man, a champion, and a guard still entering his prime. Giving him up could strengthen a direct competitor in Houston, while leaving Boston with one less trusted option for another title run. So the dilemma is sharper than it seems. Do the Celtics entertain outside interest and risk, losing one of their most reliable pieces? Or do they shut the door completely and bet on Pritchard to continue growing into a cornerstone of their backcourt? More importantly, if the Rockets come with an offer too big to ignore, will Boston's front office resist the temptation? Or will they gamble on a move that could change the balance of power for years to come?